Of recruiting for resources global professionals, a professional services firm that places senior level professionals on project assignments with clients who are experiencing change, transition, or growth. For the past 20 years, she's been helping organizations recruit and retain top talent in an aging and changing workforce. She is the author of 5 books, including the newest one, The Truth About Hiring the Best. Please welcome Kathy Fayak.
Welcome, everybody. I guess I'd like to start by asking you to think back to your last interview. Did you leave that interview thinking, wow, I know I nailed it? Or were you thinking, wow, that was really pretty lame? Well, I'd like to explore what makes the difference between a great interview and one that is not so good. You know, as an interviewer, I've been thinking about the difference in those two experiences because at the end of some interviews, I think, wow, that candidate is so strong, so great. And then some interviews at the end, I just think, that person's not quite right, or maybe even, I'm not sure if that person is going to be a good fit or not. And what it occurred to me after thinking about this for a while was that there was a difference, and the difference was in the way that that candidate was able to share a story, a memorable, positive story that highlighted a great achievement. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this session on interviewing today, is talking about how you think about crafting great stories to share with interviewers during the job interview, because I truly believe that's the difference in selling yourself and getting that next role and really not doing so great in the interview. Now, the great news for you is you don't have to have a skilled interviewer to be able to give a great interview, because I'm sure some of you have been interviewing with folks who are terrible interviewers. They don't know what questions to ask. They just kind of review your resume or your application form. Very frustrating. But then some folks that you interview with are very skilled. They know their stuff. They have questions prepared. They're asking great, really thought-provoking questions. Now, some folks who have been taught on interviewing skills have been taught about behavioral interviewing. And that's a term that we hear a lot of. Basically, it's where the interviewer is trying to get from you your great stories that are examples of behaviors that you have exhibited in the past. Because interviewers know that if you have exhibited a behavior in your past, you're more likely to exhibit that behavior in the future. So what you want to do in advance of that interview, whether the person's been trained on behavioral interviewing or not, is to have thought about your great stories that illustrate your background, your experience, your credentials, the great competencies that you bring to the job, so that you're going to really sell yourself each and every time. So let's talk about what those stories are. And I have in your workbook there, I have a handout, and I have a homework assignment for each of you. You don't have to do it here in our session today. We have only so much time, but I'm going to encourage you to look at that, take that home, and really work on that so that you will be doing a better job in your interview the next time around. Basically, everybody got your workbook out, and you flip several pages in, and it's about the interview. Tips and techniques for behavioral interviewing to get the job you want. Okay, so here's your homework assignment. What I want you to do is think about to your back work experience and identify your great stories. What are your great accomplishments? And I want you to highlight those and list those, and even sketch them out if you need to. What I want you to do then is to think about, well, that story is a great story, but what does it illustrate? Does it illustrate great speaking skills, great communication skills, great ability to solve difficult problems? Whatever it might be, think about the qualities that that story illustrates. Because that way, if someone says, give me an example of a time you had to communicate difficult news to your coworkers. You can pull out that story that you have then prepared in advance.